on behalf of my co-chair and myself, it really gives me great pleasure to declare the 12th meeting of the Executive Committee of the Warsaw International Mechanism for Loss and Damage open. I would like to welcome members, new members and old members to this 12th meeting of the Excom, and as well as, of course, our observers and constituted bodies to this meeting. We note that the observers have remained with us despite the challenges that we've been facing for the year so far. And we really appreciated that you've actually stuck with us during those difficult times. We have quite a number of you that have registered for the meeting. We have observer statistics showing a total of 179 observers registered. We have, let's see, UN and IGOs 41, youth NGOs 15, business NGO 1, women and gender NGOs 4, research and independent NGOs, RINGOs 7, and environmental NGOs, ENGOs 18. Just in case some of you do not know me, I am Dawn Pierre Nathaniel. I am the representative of the Small Island Developing States on this Executive Committee for the Warsaw International Mechanism for Loss and Damage. And I'm also one of your co-chairs, my other co-chair being Monica from Poland. Unfortunately, Monica is experiencing some difficulty and she can't be with us here at this meeting, and she may not make it for much of the meeting this week, although she may pop in at some point. So according to our rules, if one co-chair is absent from a particular meeting, Rule 11 of the Excom's Rules of Procedure enables the Excom to designate a member to temporarily serve as co-chair of that meeting. So it gives me a great pleasure to introduce my temporary co-chair, and I would ask him to introduce himself.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name is Malcolm. Excom members know me well, but some observers may not. I work at the moment in the UK COP unit, working up to the presidency for COP26. So I am stepping into this co-chair. So Dawn is the one with all the answers and all the procedures, and I'm the plus one.
Okay, Malcolm, thank you. I'm not sure about having all the answers, but so just to continue, I realize that we are a few minutes into our time. Just as organizational matters, know that due to the wide time differences that we have among the 20 members, the live discussions have been scheduled to be as amenable as possible for each member and will be limited to 2 hours per day. The co-chairs intend to manage the meeting time prudently and work as efficiently as possible during the course of the day. We plan to manage the time as efficiently as possible to ensure that all agenda items are covered as planned. Matters which the Excom cannot wrap up within the allocated time slot will only be taken up after other matters are covered. Further, everyone who takes the floor is requested to keep the intervention to a maximum of 3 minutes at a time. Note that, and I think a lot of you know that, Excom 12, as you can see, is open to observers. Observers were asked to register in advance. Observers joining the meeting are screened based on the name and affiliation indicated on their registration form. The open discussions are being recorded. The recordings will be available at a later stage after processing. I would like to turn over to the Secretariat briefly for some information on housekeeping.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. Good morning, afternoon, evening. Welcome everyone to the 12th meeting of the Executive Committee of the Warsaw International Mechanism for Loss and Damage. Please note that the working language of the meeting is English. Please keep your microphones muted unless you are speaking. Except for the members of the Excom, we kindly ask that everyone else turn off their video to reduce bandwidth requirements for everyone, except when you're speaking, of course. When you want to take the floor, please use the raise hand function. The names appear on the participants list according to the chronological order in which you click the hand. It'll help the co-chairs keep the speakers list. Please refer to the Excom 12 webpage for the relevant documents for this meeting. Back to you, Dawn.
Thank you very much, Miwa. And just to continue in terms of observer engagement, recall that Excom rules of procedure provide that official meetings of the Excom are open to observers, as I said, in accordance with decision 2CP20. So what we will do as co-chairs, Malcolm and myself, is that we will open the floor for observers to the extent that it is possible within the allocated time slot for different agenda items, and after the Excom members have exchanged the views. The schedule of the work, as you know, is available on the Excom 12 website to help you plan your various inputs. Given the fixed time available, observers can also send written comments on the various agenda items. Inputs in writing can be sent to the designated email address that you know. I'm hoping that this can be shown on screen. It is loss-damage@unfccc.int. So I'm hoping that this can be shown on screen at some point, or at least available in the chat for persons to see. There is limited, almost no time really, flexibility for discussions to spill over the allocated time for obvious reasons. Obviously, we've spilled over a bit into some of our time due to the late start. As such, we will strictly control the time for interventions. In this regard, observers are encouraged to speak as a group as much as possible rather than individually. This will enable us to hear from as many voices as possible. I would now like to turn over to my co-chair for the next agenda item 2, on the adoption of the agenda. Malcolm?
Thank you. So, everybody, I would turn your attention to the agenda, which is on the website. And I won't read it all out, but we will need to first formally adopt this agenda. So, given that you have all seen the agenda, are there any additions or deletions from Excom members that you would like to see? I don't hear any, so I think my particular piece of the agenda here is going to be super short. I don't see any hands. Miwa, do you see any hands in case my system is playing up and I'm not noticing anything? No, I don't think we do. So the agenda, as set out on the website, and you'll see it's labeled Excom 12 Draft Provisional Agenda 1808-02020.pdf is adopted. Thank you very much. I now hand back to Dawn, who will carry on with the real work of the Excom.
Thanks, Marco. We are now going to head over to agenda item 3 on the launching of the expert groups, a very important item for all Excom members and indeed, of course, for all of our treasured observers. So I would like to ask the Secretariat to put on a slide that will allow everyone to follow with me. So by decision 2 CMA.2, parties requested the Excom to launch the expert groups on slow onset events and non-economic losses. Okay, great. To establish by the end of 2020, an expert group pursuant to Decision 2CP19, Paragraph 5C. Paragraph 5C is about enhancing action and support, which is one of the functions of the Warsaw International Mechanism for Loss and Damage. Note that at the last meeting of the Excom, that is Excom 11 in March 2020, that was the first virtual meeting that we had for the year as a result of COVID-19. The Excom initiated the work on the terms of reference for these expert groups and formed working groups to continue preparing the TORs intersessionally with a view to launching these groups at this Excom meeting, that is the 12th Excom meeting. The working groups finalized their work over the summer, and the Excom members at large have had opportunities to weigh in to ensure the draft TOR, the TORs, that is, for slow onset events, non-economic losses, and action and support that we refer to as ASEG, reflect the views from all sides. The final draft TORs are available on the Excom 12 website. So I'm assuming that everyone has had an opportunity to check the website for those. These documents will be fully edited at a later stage. So as you could see, the slide, we are hoping to be able to do a few things at this meeting. We want to be able to adopt the draft TORs. We want to be able to elect Excom members who will serve in these expert groups. And we also want to be able to confirm a general time frame for the development of the respective draft plans of actions. So at this point, before we actually go into the members, I wish to propose that the Excom adopt these draft terms of reference for the expert groups on slow onset events, on non-economic losses, and on action and support. So I am now looking for hands from our Excom members. If there are no hands, I will take it that we will adopt the terms of reference for ASEG, non-economic losses, and slow onset events. Okay, members have worked really hard on, let me just see. Okay, great. Members have worked really hard intersessionally on those TORs. We've had multiple meetings. I can't even say how many. I've lost count at this point. Seeing no hands and seeing no objections as far as I can tell. I believe, Leanne, you have your hand up.
Hello, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Madam Co-Chair. I just took the floor to say thank you and add my endorsement of the terms of reference. I just wanted perhaps to also add 2 points for consideration. The first is encouraging the champions for the respective expert groups, which I believe will be discussed soon, to really consider how the membership of each of the expert groups is crafted, bearing in mind that the terms of reference does give flexibility within a certain range, and also to ask that we discuss how we can expand the roster with the pool of experts, noting that the roster will become one of those tools from which the champions will be selecting the membership. So thank you, and that's it.
Thank you, Leanne. Well received. And in fact, yes, we will be going into the expert groups in terms of membership of the Excom, and the roster of experts would be very useful in this regard. Points well noted, both points well noted. So seeing no more hands and seeing no objections, it appears that we have 3 sets of adopted terms of reference. So at this Excom 12, I wish to endorse on behalf of the Excom members the terms of reference for non-economic losses, slow onset events, and action and support. Adopted. Okay. Sorry, I temporarily went off camera for that little piece. Now that we have a set of terms of reference, I just want to thank the Excom members so much for all of the effort that has gone into this and the multiple inputs that we have received over time. Very much appreciated. This will allow us to progress our work and to go forward in terms of meeting the Madrid mandates. I would like now to invite the members to have a look again at the current membership. Recall that we had members working in the various champion groups intersessionally. So may I ask the Secretariat to, yes, thank you, to have that slide up again. As you can see, the current members of the expert group, the members are listed here as SOEs for NELS, Action and Support, but also our 2 previously launched expert groups, that is the Technical Expert Group on Comprehensive Risk Management and the Task Force for Displacement. Let's go in order from the bottom to the top, perhaps. And for the Task Force for Displacement, if you have any objections as we reflect on the particular membership, then by all means, let us know. Otherwise, we will assume that you would like to keep it as is. Task Force for Displacement, the membership, Pepe, Sumaya, Cornelia, and Russell. If there are no hands raised, I will take it that we would like the membership to continue as is. No hands raised. Thank you very much. So our members for the Task Force for Displacement remain as is. The Technical Expert Group on Comprehensive Risk Management, our members are Leanne, Nidal, Yelena, and Victoria. I'm looking for hands raised for any objections or changes to the current membership. No hands raised. Moving on. For action and support, the current champions are Alpha, Dawn, Jerome, Nidal for non-Annex 1. And Annex 1, we have Farhan, Yelena, Malcolm, and Cornelia. As per our rules, there could be 4 members of the Excom. And the 4 members of the Excom would be 2 from non-Annex 1 and 2 from Annex 1. At this point, therefore, it is necessary to shrink the membership for the Action and Support Expert Group. Yes, I'm co-chairing at the moment, but I am raising my hand, unofficially raising my hand, because I didn't actually raise my hand for me to call myself, for being one of the members of the Action and Support Expert Group. I see Cornelia has raised her hand. Cornelia?
Thank you, Dawn, and also hello everybody from my side. I would just like to say that I'm stepping down from my seat. Thank you.
Thank you, Cornelia. Nidal?
Thank you so much, Dawn, and hello everyone. Likewise, I'm stepping down from the Action and Support and keeping myself in the CRM. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nidal. Jerome?
Yes, thank you. I would also manifest that I would be stepping down as a member of Action and Support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm looking for some more hands. So right now, in terms of non-annex ones, we have 2 members remaining from non-annex ones. That is myself, Dawn, and Alpha. I'm not seeing Alpha's hand, so I am taking it that Alpha is continuing to serve on the Action and Support Expert Group for non-annex ones. For annex ones, we still have Fahan, Yelena, and Malcolm. An indication of Malcolm.
Yeah, thank you. I'd be happy to step down as well for this this bit, which would then leave it a balanced group.
Thank you very much, Malcolm. So our members of the ASEG are now Alpha, Dawn, Fahan, and Yelena. Moving on to NELS. We have 2 members listed here for non-annex ones and 1 for annex ones. As a show of hands, please, as to whether you indicate you plan to remain or if there are any proposed changes to that group. Kaisa?
Yes, hi. I would be happy to join the NELS expert group from the annex one then.
Thank you so much, Kaisa. Appreciated. Jerome?
Yes, thank you. Subject to concurrence of our colleagues, I manifest my interest to join the NELS group. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerome. Adao? Go ahead, Adao.
Hi, everyone. This is Adam speaking. Thank you very much, Don. I would like to inform you that I'm happy to be with these NELS champions. Thank you very much.
Excellent, Adao. Thank you. So, okay, I'm seeing. Okay, let me just try to figure out the other hands that I'm seeing. Okay, there are no more hands. So therefore, for the NELS, we have, hold on, let me just verify. Okay, you know, it's quite a challenge moving between documents, papers, screens, and hands in a little space in the corner of my house. So for the NELS, we have Adao and Jerome for non-annex ones, and we have Valerie and Kaisa. Is that correct? For annex ones. Okay, thank you. Moving on to slow onset events. We currently have Alpha and Antonio for annex ones, and for non-annex ones, and annex ones we have Fahan and Malcolm. Could you indicate that any changes? We have requested as much as possible that only one member, each member should serve on only one of the expert groups. And that is because we recognize that it's quite a lot of effort to have a number of intersessional meetings to be able to take the work forward. So this is why we are asking members to indicate interest in just one action, one particular expert group, and not more than one. So currently for the SOEs, we have Alpha and Antonio, and Fahan and Malcolm. Are we retaining Nidal? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dawn. Just I'm having a proposal in response to your proposal that one champion be in one group. So maybe if we can go back only just I lost it. Okay, I have it. If we can keep Imran in the slow onset events in order, instead of alpha, in order just to be having such kind of that one champion is only in one member. So we know well that Imran is not on board, but if we can at the moment, for this moment, just replace alpha in the slow onset with Imran. If this is okay with Alpha and other colleagues, thank you.
Thank you very much, Nidal. So you're proposing that Imran be in the slow onset events, and I'm not seeing, there's a hand up, but I can't, Farhan.
Hello, colleagues. This is Farhan. Just to say, I'd be happy to step down my seat here, but we're going to be working within the Annex 1 group to identify my replacement, and we'll get back to you by the end of the week.
Okay, thank you, Farhan. So you've stepped down from SOEs because you are a member of the ASEG. We currently have Malcolm as the SOE Annex 1 member, and one more to be replaced and indicated by the end of the week. And based on the proposal by Nidal, that Imran be in the slow onset events group along with Antonio. Is that correct?
Share. Hello, Share.
Hi, is that Alpha?
Yes.
I don't see your hand. So go ahead, Alpha.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. And I just want to echo what Nidal just mentioned. As I indicated to a group, I'd like to be part of the ASEC group. Thank you. To confirm my availability for the ASEC group and hence resign from slow onset event. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alpha. I had taken it that because you hadn't raised your hand to object, that you would remain as the ASEG champion. And this is why I had actually called out your name and my name as the ASEG champions. But thank you so much for confirming that. Appreciated. Antonio?
Yeah, good morning, Madam Co-Chair. Good evening and good afternoon to everyone, wherever you are. Yes, I'm just wanting to express my willing to remain in the SOE's expert group, hoping that Imran, when he comes up again, be willing to be my co-champion in this expert group. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Antonio. Excellent. So may I ask the Secretariat to have a revised table available for flashing at some point, maybe near the end of the agenda item with the changed members so far. So I won't take the time to call them out again. Let's see. Okay, so to have this revised table shown based on the indications just made by various members. There is only one seat that remains to be filled, as far as I can tell, and that is for slow onset events, an Annex 1 member to be indicated, because we now have only one Annex 1 member in the person of Malcolm. So the updated table will be put up online as well, and that will be available to all, so you would know who the various members are. Okay, so now what we want to do is, we still have a little time left on that agenda item, and we would like to be able to move on to have the post-Excom time frame discussed among the members. So you could remove the screen, especially as it's no longer the current, thanks. So we want to move on to the time frame. And I would like to invite members to comment on, to provide their inputs on this time frame. So we have basically for the Excom members, for the 3 expert groups, that is ASEG, non-economic losses, that's NELS, and SOEs, slow onset events. to send the proposed list of technical experts to the co-chairs by the 27th of October. Of the year is not too far away either, and this is why we're proposing this tight timeline. We're also proposing, I see Leanne.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. I have no particular objection to the date, but it's, I guess, point of order. If we are to reach out to different experts for them to become a part of the roster that could be expanded for the consideration of the champions, I think that timeline may need to be factored in because we still need to reach out to as many Annex 1 and non-Annex 1 members as possible. And particularly given the new areas that we're considering, we may need some additional expertise for consideration there. So I am putting that on the table to check whether that can factor into the timelines that are now being proposed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leanne. Well taken. And I will also invite some additional inputs before I move forward. I see Nida.
Thank you so much, Dawn. My feeling that the time here is too tight. My proposal is to keep it 1 month from today, and by mid of November to be finalizing this the list of experts. I'm saying this from my earlier experience in the comprehensive risk management, because it needs some kind of contact to the person and checking out their availabilities and their willingness in that regard. So if this is okay with other colleagues, I may propose to have it to finalize this by the mid of November. At least we have 2 more weeks just to be sure that we are getting the right persons in the right seat. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this, Nidal. Again, Leanne and Nidal, points well taken. So, Nidal, you're proposing, apologies. Nidal, you're proposing that we give ourselves till the end, well, 1 month to be able to work on getting the list and getting the experts, and then have that finalized by mid-November. That's what your proposal is. I see Sumaya.
Hello, everybody, and thanks, Dawn, for introducing this important agenda. I echo with Nidal on the issue of timing, because we are the 27th of the month is just around the corner. So I think there will be need for enough time. And I'm also curious about knowing what will happen, because what will the co-chair do in order to finalize and endorse? Is this just a matter of waiting for the list to complete, or there is an additional step that would be taken by the co-chair? Is it related to contacting expert, or so? I'm just curious about knowing about the following step. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Sumaya. I will revert in a moment. I think I see Adao.
Thank you very much, Co-Chair. I'm also supporting the views expressed by Nadal with regard to time limitation for this. So we can finalize the list of the experts for each of the expert groups by the middle of November. In terms of how to move forward, I do note that it will be also possible for all group Excom members to discuss sometime about all the memberships of the 3 expert groups by the middle of November. Like it was raised by Sumaya that the role of the co-chairs will be critically important. So I do note that I need to propose that we need to discuss this once again virtually once we put all the experts in place. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that recommendation as well, Adao. Okay, so basically, we are hearing from our members that they need some more time to ensure that we get the right experts on the group, and that the proposal is made that we have a month from now, from today, which is the 12th of November or thereabout, to be able to get in all our names. Note that the members who have been nominated or have nominated themselves to be on those expert groups will have a key role in ensuring that they reach out to members, to experts, to observers, etc., to be able to get to speak and obtain information on experts, and to be able to have experts proposed. We will be providing guidance to the members to ensure that the same information is requested for the consideration of the Excom in finalizing the list. And the co-chairs, of course, will seek to finalize the list very soon after all the names are in. We also note the point made earlier on by Nidal and others, Leanne and others, regarding the roster of experts, and that continues to be an important source for us. We've always asked our technical experts to ensure that they become registered on this roster of experts, which is a place that we look for names and potential experts to be part of our various groupings. Note that we have 4 members, as you would see, per expert group, 2 Annex 1 and 2 non-Annex 1s, but also that we have, according to the TORs, technical experts and constituted bodies ranging from 10 to 18. So just by way of information, and of course you have access to the TORs online, so you would be able to see that. Just give me 1 second to collaborate with my co-chair, and I will revert in a few seconds. Okay, thank you for your patience with that. So just confirming that we will have 1 month from today for the various names to be sent in. And that will be a key role, will be for the champions who have been nominated in those groups to take that lead role in getting that to us. Okay, so at this point in time, based on the time that we have, we would like to be able to have some reactions. And we have gotten reactions from our Excom members in terms of the tight timeline, and that has been well noted, and we will work accordingly. So therefore, we will now move on to get some inputs from our observers. As I indicated, we're hoping that we will have experts from the various groupings that could take us to a range of 10 to 18. That includes experts as well as constituted bodies. So at this point in time, the floor is open for reactions from our, I see, just before I do that, I believe Nidal, your hand is up. Nidal, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, and sorry for interrupting you, Dawn. The other point to be considered here is the nomination process, because I recall whether the last time under the CRM, whether we were discussing whether we are approaching the person or the expert or the institution or agency he's coming from, and from where this letter for requesting the nomination is coming. Is it coming from the Secretariat or the Excom champions? And this logistical issues only just to be considered, and recalling the earlier experience under the CRM, and maybe Miwa can assist us in that regard. Only just to be sure that we are considering the time, the most efficient way in considering the time constraints. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Miwa, may I ask you to come online just to provide some guidance in terms of the normal logistics that we undertake in terms of the process, just so everyone is clear in terms of the letter writing and all of the things that happen, just so there's clarity for all. Thanks.
Thank you, Co-Chair, and thank you, Nedal, for the questions. So once the champion Excom members have finalized their proposed list of experts, that they will be sending that list to the co-chairs for approval. Once that is endorsed by the co-chairs, the Secretariat will assist in preparing the invitation to be sent to all experts to engage in the expert groups. Along the way, we will also be able to assist champions with the preparation of the list of experts as well. As Leanne has mentioned earlier, Excom has the WIM roster of experts and other databases that from which the champion members can derive information on. Back to you, Dawn.
Thank you very much, Miwa. So I'm hoping that this is clear and that we appreciate the intended way forward. So at this point, I would like to open the floor to observers for their reactions, for their inputs. Just to reiterate that we would like to have the interventions be as brief as possible, no more than 3 minutes, and also that we ask for there to be urges in the groups as much as possible, so that we're not hearing from persons individually, but getting an opportunity to hear from as many people as possible based on the groupings. That would be very much appreciated. Leanne, is that your hand up?
Yes, thanks, Madam Co-Chair. I wanted to follow up quickly regarding the roster of experts. The current page has the expert groups which were previously spoken to and established. And so it's really a question to the team, including the Secretariat, as to whether any additional updates will be needed to the types of information that's being asked for from the experts, noting that we have now launched the terms of reference for the expert groups earlier today. Also, what sort of timeline may be needed for that update to be done, so that, noting the 1 month timeline, we will be able to get the information out to potential experts as soon as possible, and the information to come in time to inform the champions and for them to deliberate on who is being proposed. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Leanne, for this, in terms of the roster of experts. Note that the Secretariat will be updating the web pages and all of that information as per the deliberations of the Excom 12. So this will be done on a rolling basis and will be done by the Secretariat, and they will make that available very soon. Miwa, I don't know if you want to come in briefly on that.
Sure. Thank you, Dawn, and thank you, Leah, for the remark. Yes, the Secretariat team will be updating the web page according to the Excom 12 deliberations. on a rolling basis. And in addition, we'll be sending you the members, the champion members, the updated list of experts from the WIM roster of experts. This information will not be posted online due to the privacy protections, but we'll be sending the relevant information to the champions by email. Back to you, Dawn.
Thank you very much. I'm seeing a hand up, but I can't tell who it is. Miwa, could you help me out here? Oh, the hand is no longer up. Okay, so the floor is open to observers who may wish to come in at this point. As indicated, please keep your interventions brief. Okay, so in the meantime, while we are awaiting our observers, we have Mr. Clement Yao Malalat. I'm sorry if I have mispronounced your name, the co-chair of the Facilitative Working Group on Local Communities and Indigenous Peoples Platform, for a very short intervention. Mr. Malalat, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Co-Chair. Greetings to everyone. I'll try to keep this as brief as possible. The platform, as mentioned, is an open and inclusive space that attempts to bring together people and their knowledge system to work toward a resilient future for all. My understanding is that my predecessors, the former co-chairs of the Facilitative Working Group for the platform, wrote to the co-chairs of the Excom expressing the interest of the Facilitative Working Group to explore synergies and collaborative opportunities with the Excom on the work stream on non-economic losses. The topics covered under the strategic work stream on non-economic losses, including those on the loss or degradation of cultural heritage, indigenous knowledge, societal and cultural identity, are highly relevant to the work of the platform. And more importantly, these topics are particularly near and dear to Indigenous peoples and local communities. As reported in the 2019 Global Assessment on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services of IPBES, at least a quarter of the global land area is traditionally owned, managed, used, or occupied by Indigenous peoples. And nature under the care of Indigenous peoples and local communities is declining less rapidly than the other lands. And we also see a similar dynamic playing out with respect to marine areas, including those that are subject to customary tenure systems. This underscores a very key point. Indigenous peoples are stewards of 80% of the world's remaining biodiversity. For Indigenous peoples, the vitality of their local economies is based on their resilient relationships with their natural environments, lands, and territories, their traditional food sources, as well as their ancestral cultural practices and ways of knowing. The increasing losses that they are experiencing as a result of climate change impact all of these aspects of their lives and livelihoods. These are interconnected and in many cases are irreversible. And so as the Excom deliberates on your work related to non-economic losses during this meeting and beyond, on behalf of the Facilitative Working Group, I respectfully invite the Excom's kind consideration of a couple of matters. Number one, kindly consider engaging Indigenous experts and experts from local communities in your expert group on non-economic losses. And two, explore collaborative opportunities between the Facilitative Working Group and the Excom to enhance the coherence and impact of our collective work. This will work toward weaving diverse knowledge systems together in order to avert, minimize, and address loss and damage arising from climate change. Thank you very much, Madam Co-Chair.
Thank you very much for that intervention and noting the interest, particularly in the non-economic losses expert group. We are noting it with interest, and we really appreciate the opportunity for collaboration. Thank you so much. At this point, we are going to have a few interventions from the floor, from the observers. The first one I have here is Mr. Habibullah Tahiri from Afghanistan. You have the floor.
Hello, Madam. Thank you so much, and co-chair. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Habibullah Tahiri from Afghanistan. I just wanted to know about the process of selecting of the membership to the expert group, expert group on slow onset or non-academic losses, and expert group on pursuant to Decision 12 CPN 19 paragraph 5C. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'm hoping that some clarity has been provided, but basically we will be having the champions for this, or the expert group members from the Excom, work on finalizing those lists. We will be looking towards our roster of experts that has been established, and that roster of experts and the information will be updated as per the deliberations of this meeting to assist the champions and to assist the expert group members on the Excom in finalizing the list. We will be looking for persons with the technical expertise and competence based on the various expert groups, whether they be NELS or slow onset events or action and support. So more information on that will be made available to assist in the process of getting our groups and our members finalized by at least 1 month from today. Okay, thank you very much. We now call upon Donna from IFRC. Thank you. Donna, you have the floor.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, members of the Excom, and thank you for everyone for giving us the opportunity. Good evening from Manila. I am Donna from the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, and I would just like to express interest while Dawn already explained the process, and also Miwa guided us through the next steps in terms of the creation and selection of the members of the Excom. The Red Cross Red Crescent family would again like to just formally express interest to be part of these expert groups. We've been very active in the other expert groups on the Comprehensive Risk Management and Task Force on Displacement, and we believe that these are also areas, the NELS, the SOEs, and the ASEG are areas that are close to the mandate of the Red Cross Red Crescent movement, and we're happy to further collaborate and contribute. So just that, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Donna. Just to announce, based on the time that we are now into the time of our next agenda item, and as such, the list is now closed. But before that, I am calling on, I believe I have Samuel Okuri from Yongo. You have the floor.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes,
please, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, okay. First time, I want to say thank you for the opportunity of being part of this conference for WIM and all that. But there is a dissatisfaction I have, which is a pre-notice was not given to me. I was sent a mail by Annie, and then I wasn't replied on any mail in regards to the link to this meeting until this morning. So please, it would be nice if a pre-information is being given, because many body we are misinformed about this meeting, and some of us have to join late because there was no link sent to us by mail directly. And the reason why I opted for this is I have experienced in regards to flood and damages and all that while I was growing up. So
We seem to have lost the input from Yango unless it was done, but I do appreciate that you are having some challenges. There are connectivity challenges for some of our groups, some of our members, some of our experts, and we do apologize. It seems to be an issue around the world, really, in terms of some technical difficulties. We're also, of course, a lot of this is quite novel, a lot of this is quite new in the way we're trying to have those meetings virtually. So everything is not going to be as perfect as we would like it to be, but we are trying our best as co-chairs as well as the secretariat to ensure that persons have an opportunity to participate and persons have an opportunity to go forward. So thank you very much for that. As I indicated, based on the time, we are now eating up into the time of the next agenda item. I see an Excom member with his hand up, so I will take that intervention, but the interventions by observers is now closed. Nidal, your hand is up.
Yes, thank you so much. And I'm sorry, just to jump in, just to be sure that before I move into the next agenda item that we are concluding the event and into the fourth bullet point in the last slide, which is on the invitations that to be sent in the first week of November. So in light of our discussion, I think this to be revisited maybe to the first week of December. Thank you. In addition, sorry, just to be sure about the invitations here, what is meant is invitations for the first meetings for the expert group. Correct? Thank you.
Thank you, Nidal. We will adjust the notes based on the deliberations here. So we'll push all the dates back, similar to what we discussed so far. That is the 1 month to allow all the names to be in and finalized. And then, of course, therefore, time to allow the Secretariat to be able to send out the invitations. We will provide information to Excom members based on the discussions here, to be clear on the procedure, so we're all working from the same page. Thank you very much for that intervention, Nidal. Again, I think, therefore, we've come to the end of this agenda item. We have adopted our terms of reference for ASEG, non-economic losses, and slow onset events. I think, members, you deserve a round of applause for that. Can I hear applause? No? Okay, great. And also, we have all of our Excom members filled in, except for one slot for SOEs for the Annex 1s, which will be communicated within the week and no later than Friday. So we will have that information shortly. So that is done as well. We also have an indicative timeline for working in terms of the expert groups, and that will be, the notes on that will be finalized and shared with the members so that you have that guidance, including, of course, the updating of the web pages based on the deliberations today, and the roster of experts to Excom members to allow in the reach out. And we appreciate all of the inputs made by observers in terms of indication of interest expressed by several of you, and that is very much appreciated. In the interest of time, it is now 7:07 a.m. in St. Lucia, at different times for different persons. We would like to be able to move into the next agenda item. So I am going offline just for a little bit, not offline, but off camera just for a little bit, while I collaborate with my co-chair, who will take you through the next agenda item on the technical guides. So thank you, and just give us a few seconds. Thank you. Okay, just to reinforce, I know that there may have been observers who would have liked to provide input today verbally, but of course, this whole mechanism of working with the virtually and having just a 2-hour slot in which to deliberate makes it very difficult to be able to have all the interventions happen. But you will recall that earlier on, I did invite persons to feel free to make your submissions in writing to the email address that was provided on the screen to you. So please send in your inputs in writing to allow you to have your voice heard in that manner, given that this setting does not necessarily allow us to have all the interventions that we would like to have. So at this point, I would like to turn over to my co-chair, Malcolm, for the next agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I hope everyone can hear me. So this next agenda item is the development of the technical guides. And I believe there's a slide that we can look at that will remind us of progress so far. Well, while we're waiting for the slide to come up, but I don't see it. So if you remember that parties to CMA2 requested the Excom to develop technical guides, and we have a slide showing the sections, which I don't have immediately to hand, but there would be sections on risk assessments, as it says in the agenda, and approaches to averting, minimizing, addressing loss and damage, resources for supporting such approaches, and monitoring systems for assessing effectiveness of these approaches. And at Excom 11, the members did have shared views on the potential target users, relevant topics, and format and working arrangements. So now the job for us is to advance this mandate across the 5 expert groups and produce some general guidance on what these technical guides might be. But I don't know, it would be good if we could get the slide up. Can the secretary put the slide up? All I can see is AB for Adele on the screen. I think it'd be helpful to have the slide if we can. Ta-da! There we are. So there we are. So that's where we are. So I think there's 2 things that we need to do is we need to decide some of the categories and specific content of what needs to go into it. But I think before we go there, in terms of how we will set up the principles for the technical guides, what we want to do with those, and the form of them. And so can we start with thinking about some of the guiding principles and the 4 sections of the mandate to CMA2, which talks about risk assessments, approaches and resources and monitoring systems, whether in fact that would be a good way of setting out those guides, and then following on talking about whether we are going to produce them and brand as Excom products or not. But to begin with, can I just open the floor to see whether there's agreement of the broad of whether there needs to be any refinement to the sections that were included in the mandate in 2 CMA2, or whether that's clear enough and members are happy to have that as the framing sort of guiding principles for these technical guides, or whether they think they need to be elaborated further by the Excom to help produce these guides. Sorry, I was muted. Farhan, please. Sorry.
Thank you, Malcolm, co-chair. Just to say, I think there's an important aspect of this that we need to have a discussion about, just reflecting both on the terms of reference we just approved, as well as some of the discussions we had over the summer and at the last meeting, that these technical guides, I think just in looking at even just the list here in terms of the breadth of information that these technical guides will need to take into account, that a single expert group probably won't be able to put together an entire comprehensive guide on its own. It probably will require collaborations amongst different expert groups. You could see how the tech CRM or the ASEG could contribute to sections of this report, while the expertise and the NELS and SOE groups would be also required, and that there would be requirements here for strong collaborations across the different expert groups. So I think it is important for us to sort of make sure that these technical guides will be produced with regularity, and that they would be on topics that the Excom has chosen to sort of work on broadly across the expert groups. So to that end, I think that it would be helpful for us to decide on a specific timing and process for having a discussion at the Excom level to help coordinate the work of the different expert groups on technical guides on particular topics. So I think we need to have some clarity and a decision by the Excom in terms of we will have a discussion on topics for these technical guides, and then go to the expert groups and ask them to help work on those guides over a period of time that's reasonable for the production of one of these guides, which I think it may be a year or two. And I think that we should just have a decision made by the Excom now to have that discussion. I don't know if we can necessarily establish the themes right away, but I think we could at least make the decision now that we would have a discussion at our next meeting on topics for technical guides, and then ask for inputs from the expert groups in the intersessional time before our next meeting. So we can have the discussion, we could establish what are the topics for the technical guides that we'd like to work on for the next year or two, and then have that discussion and agreement at the next Excom meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Farhan. I see your hand, Leanne, but just to clarify, so Farhan, what I understand is the mandate is broad, and therefore there would need to be a specific outline for each technical guide that would be produced by the expert group. And that outline, headings or whatever it might be, for that technical guide would be endorsed by the full Excom before it goes back to the expert group to be produced. Is that correct in terms of what you're thinking in terms of that process?
I don't think I was actually getting quite to the point of even an outline. I think even just the broad topic for the technical guide before you even develop the outline, I think it needs to be discussed and agreed upon around by the Excom.
And did you think that then the outline would also need to come back to the Excom? So it's a two-stage process, or a one-stage process, just the broad outline, and then the rest is delegated?
I'm open and flexible to other members' views on that. I think we'll have to learn by doing here and understand what the steps are to develop the technical guide. I can say right now that we would need to approve an outline before they move forward with it. If they can take it forward without that step, but if other members feel more comfortable with it coming back to the Excom for more discussions as the guides are being developed, then that's okay with me as well.
Okay, thank you. Leanne, please.
Thank you very much, Co-Chair. Just a few points I would like to put on the table. One is that I think there is an opportune time now for the expert groups to see how, in developing their plans of action, that this mandate can be taken into account. I know already the Tech CRM seems to have had some foresight. So there's this already listed in some of the work that the Tech CRM will be doing. And so seeing how that can feature into how we have that coherence among the expert groups to build out on this particular mandate is something that we should definitely be encouraging and facilitating to the extent possible. In addition, just some additional thoughts, because there are different capacities in countries for using these technical guides. And so the broad range of expertise should be considered when they're being developed. For example, there should be the use of information countries are already generating. And this could be taken from, for example, the national adaptation plans or national communications, or even adaptation communications. Countries are producing these different reports, and they usually contain very useful information. And it could also have a little bit more technical information that may be beyond the data and information that is currently available, and therefore be able to expand what is being covered with the technical guides. So just want to put on the table that the varying capacities of countries should be taken into account when the guides are being prepared. Thanks.
Thank you, Leanne. Sumaya, please.
Thank you, Co-Chair. I see the technical guides are really important for developing countries. If I could start from where Leanne ended, I think the issue of having technical guides being used by developing countries on the different schematic areas of the work of the loss and damage is quite important. And in fact, I see the fact that we have just launched the term of reference of the different expert groups as a very good opportunity, because I'm thinking about after the middle of November, when we have experts in place, and to what extent they will help us in developing these guides. Because I'm thinking about meals, CRM, whatever, every expert group, I see the opportunity of providing very important information for countries that could really be used in their comprehensive risk management and in their strategies and their plans. So while agreeing with Farhan on issues of topics, because we can't address everything, however, still I am not quite sure if the general discussion among the Excom members will be fair, and whether we should really do our best in order to engage the expert. We will soon be recruiting for the different expert groups in order to give us solid technical guidance based on the very good sections that were crafted in the decisions. So while agreeing on the issue of concentrating on specific areas and topics, because we can't address everything at the same time, however, I see a very key role for expert groups. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? I got kicked out and I've just come back in again.
We can.
Okay, thank you. I missed the end of Samaya's intervention. So when I sum up at the end, hopefully you might need to come in, Samaya, to correct me if I got something wrong, if I missed something. I don't see any more hands from the floor from the Excom, unless I'm wrong. I see a hand.
Welcome.
Alpha, yes, I don't see your hand, but I've got an NA hand. But Alpha, please go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, I just wanted to draw to your attention to his office secretariat that I've been waiting more than 15 minutes to get into the MS team meeting, and perhaps they can regularly check whether some members are kicked out because due to internet connection. And on technical guidance, I think the technical guidance, the audiences of the technical guidance are developing countries. The technical guidance should be developed bearing in mind our outreach strategy, because the usefulness of the technical guidance are very important, but also the dissemination and ensuring that the end user are aware of the technical guidance that are developed, crafted in a way that is less academic, but rather concrete, to help people digest and implement them. So I think beyond the mobilization of all the expert group and the Excom in developing the technical guidance, we should draw from outside stakeholders. And we should also bear in mind that we are talking about an issue that is very local, regional, and we should also seek, by developing each technical guidance, whether regional input or regional framing will be add value in terms of reaching out and making our information useful, and also to try to identify, beyond the product we are doing, the platform that are providing those technical guidance, and then draw from their expertise, but use them also to channels and disseminate the information we are doing. On top of that, I think also it will be important, considering and in the way of enhancing the visibility of our technical guidance, whether we should not use or take advantage of regional meetings, regional initiatives that are happening, where the technical guidance will be an add value moving forward in terms of understanding risk associated with loss and damage. Thank you.
Thank you, Alpha. And Russell, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, hi, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Right. Hi, everybody. Russell here. So I just a few thoughts on this one. I think is as co-chair of the task force on displacement, I wanted to note that the report from the task force on displacement and what the task force members have been up to in the last 6 months includes a lot of guidance that is being developed for the various parts of the task force's work. And I think they provide some really good examples of the type of things that the Excom and the other thematic groups could be looking at. So I think there's some good to share then. I think some sort of lessons learned, I guess, is one that they are, technical guides do need to be written by people who know what they're really talking about. And I think the task force members are a good example of that. But also they're not written by individuals. These are organizations that are drawing on expertise from both head office and in the regional areas, and they're bringing that knowledge together. And they're sort of supported by a depth of knowledge and resources. These things are not easy or necessarily cheap to sort of put together, and therefore I think a good lesson is around just the resources that are required to do this. I also would like to say that I don't think that the technical guides are just for developing countries. I think technical guides are for decision makers and policy makers that are looking at reducing the risk of loss and damage and climate change impacts on the most vulnerable. Those decision makers and policy makers and people taking those actions are everywhere. And I think that the guides need to help whoever's working on the issues address the risk of loss and damage and climate impacts on the most vulnerable, especially in developing countries, but not only in developing countries. And because some of the people that are helping those vulnerable communities in developing countries may not be in that country. So I think it's important to sort of keep a global view on this work. I think my last point is that in the Australian government, I've actually been doing some development of technical guides with my team over the last year, and we found a lot of guides that were written by previous people in my role over the last 10 years. And what we've discovered, I guess, is that you keep just reinventing the wheel. A lot of the material that we worked on had already been written by others, and so one thing we've sort of learned is, well, how do you stop reinventing the wheel, but you sort of keep adding to what people who have come before us have done instead of starting from scratch. And I think that's important. A lot of this technical guidance that we're thinking about creating exists already in other forums and has been done by other people. So I don't think we should start from scratch. I think we should be looking at what exists and what more information do we need to fill the gap. And then my last point, Co-Chair, is that often I think technical guides are written like a big, very thick, 50-page booklet on how to do something. But actually, I don't think that's what we need to be helping people with. We need to be helping people with thinking about how they think through a problem in their local context and then how they might solve that problem. So I think techniques like scenario forecasting techniques or adaptive pathway techniques, those risk vulnerability risk assessment techniques, those are actually better things to do, and our technical guide should be helping people work through those problems in their locality, not sort of coming in and telling people this is how you do it, because of course that changes with location and over time. So I think we need to think quite carefully about how we put together these technical guides and make sure they're not just a very big how-to document, but actually more of a guide to help people think through the problems they're trying to address in their location. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any more hands up from the Excom, so shortly I will open the floor to the observers, but let me just try and summarize where we think we've got to so far. Is that the broad topics of these guides do need to be decided by the Excom, but the detail of these guides needs to be sufficient to be able to direct action at the local level for the most vulnerable. Now, that is going to be principally for developing countries, but it would also be for everybody. In actually deciding what we do about about what the exact content of those guides will be, it would be very important to draw on information that exists from countries like adaptation communications and NAPs, and so we shouldn't try and reinvent the wheel. and use information that is already there. And in putting together the detailed content of those technical guides, the input of the expert groups will be important to enable to do that. And indeed, the other stakeholders that exist, which will also help to feed into that, which will no doubt come through the expert groups as well. And that's what I had. Have I hit all the main points there, or did I miss something? I'm looking for hands of the Excom. I don't see any. So I hope that that was a reasonable summary. I think that we are pretty much all of fairly well agreed on what we need these guides to do, and that in fact we can't second guess some of the sort of the detailed content at this stage. But then in terms of then what the content will be in terms of producing those from the Excom, that will need to be sorted out once we get some of the detailed content and be able to talk about that. But we will need in the Excom, under the guidance of the various champions group, to talk about what sort of topics they will cover for each of those guides. And my suggestion would be that we could do that via email substantially, because I think that that's something that we can work on virtually. With that said, and I'll come back to summarize again if necessary, but we have a little bit of time now, and I'd like to put the floor open to observers, please, if they'd like to give us their wisdom on technical things and practical things that we could do to make these guides more useful. Donna, please.
Hi, Malcolm. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me again. I fully support the suggestions from Russell, and I think one of the core things that's needed from technical guides is its usability and understandability on the ground. We have already 1 million resources out there, and it's creating more confusion right now on the ground because people are confused which guides to use. So might be good to consider how these technical guides can be a convergence point and something that will bring together various guidelines and help really bridge the understanding on the ground between technical users and those who are practical workers on the ground. So just bridging that divide would be something you might want to consider as an objective of the technical guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Donna. I had a hand up with somebody called NA. It would be good if NA could introduce themselves, and it would be good also if they could alter their sign-in to the name that they used to register for this meeting. So NA, if you could do.
Hello, yes, can you hear me, please? Hello?
We hear you.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry for the registration. My name is Nasser Sharif. I'm from Kuwait delegation. Sorry that, because of the communication and also, as you, Mr. Co-Chair, said that there is some slide on the screen. I don't see any slides. My screen is black. So as a suggestion, if the Secretariat or someone can circulate the slides, and if there is any key points or summary points of day one because of the internet and joining late because of the communication, I did not follow the whole meeting, and I also got kicked twice. So just for clarification from all the agenda items, And Mr. Co-Chair, like I know that you're talking about technical guidance, but like, and I did not follow you. Are you talking about the discussion that we had in Madrid in our last meeting, those technical guidance, or are there something else? Because like I got misunderstanding you when you were talking about that, maybe because I don't see the slide that you mentioned. Thank you.
Yeah, and I do apologize. I missed nearly all of your intervention because I just got kicked out. So I don't know, Dawn, if you're able to answer that point.
Hi, thanks. I believe that the issue was largely with having connectivity issues, and some observers joined in late. So he was asking whether it would be possible to have summary or something available that will allow them to be clued in as to what was discussed or agreed upon. Just to note that, of course, some of the things that happened, the endorsement of the 3 terms of reference, and those are already available online. So those were endorsed in the first part of the meeting. And we also have the members of the Excom who will be serving on this body. And that can be made available as well. There's just one member missing from the slow onset events group. And in terms of this technical guides, the slides that were shown by Malcolm will be made available online. So that will also be made available to you. And there will be on-demand recording for observers as a way of informing yourselves as to what is happening. I hope that helps. Or what happened.
Yes,
you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Donna. The thing is, like, as you said, there is some changing on dates that you moved to November and maybe December. That's why, like, I'm asking about those keynotes on, like, what you had agreed on. And as you said, some people get kicked out. So if there is any summary that the secretariat or I don't know, like if the Excom has an secretariat that can do that and circulate, because as I said, we did not get joining so fast to the meeting. I waited nearly 15 to 20 minutes. So
okay, so thank you, Nessa.
You're back, Malcolm. All right, great.
Yeah, thanks. That's fine. Decision points will be made available. Okay. And indeed, if you like to enjoy the full experience all over again, there will be a recording that you can ask for from the Secretariat and just go through the whole thing. So I hope that helps, because I think I'm suffering as well from internet. I keep getting kicked out as well, which is not less than ideal. But we have limited time, so if you don't mind, I can move on and to Shankar Sharma, please, from Nepal.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you all for the opportunity. I'm Shankar Sharma from Nepal. I'm doing this intervention on behalf of the Climate Action Network. As we all are aware that climate actions are already causing significant losses and damage impacting people around the world. Despite the COVID-19 crisis dominating the global media, irreversible climate impacts are still taking place around the world. We see loss and damage in Sudan, where unprecedented flooding has claimed at least 100 lives and damage destroyed more than 110,000 homes. We see in Bangladesh and other countries as well. In case of Nepal, landslide, including other weather events, had significantly impacted the lives and livelihood of people. More than 400 villages has been permanently shifted to safer places. This is the scenario. Given the global importance of the loss and damage and the critical role of the WIM Executive Committee plays, we are hoping that the meeting of the Executive Committee makes the necessary decisions and take action to appropriate the scale of the problem we are facing worldwide. Considering different volunteer impacts on the lives, livelihoods, and ecosystem and economics. At the meeting, we are expecting to see experts groups set up on the non-economic loss and damage, launched events and actions and support. In the establishment of these expert groups, we expect their membership to represent the broader diversity of the stakeholders necessary for informed debate and actions. This diversity must be aligned with the guidance contained in the UNFCCC Gender Action Plan, and this must include representation from the civil society so that we can effectively contribute to support this important work. The expert group on the action and support need to think outside the box. It is important that the work of this group not only engages with the internal UNFCCC processes such as the Standing Committee on Finance and the GCF. The expert group should also explore alternative sources outside the convention alongside public finance from the developed countries to generate the level of financing necessary to adequately respond to the escalating needs. It must be recognized that any further delay in mobilizing resources to address loss and damage has devastating impact on the vulnerable communities and countries already battling with climate crisis. It would be important that the Executive Committee set aside time during this meeting to also update the next step for operationalizing the San Diego network. This has been passed to the subsidiary bodies in accordance with the Region 1 CP25, but it remains vital that their actions are guided by the knowledge and expertise of the Executive Committee members. It is only with your active engagement that the San Diego network can be established with due consideration of its role, mandate, and the urgency to start work and to make sure that it serves the need of the most vulnerable people in the developing country. At this meeting, we are also expecting the Executive Committee to consider its role with regard to the inclusion of loss and damage in the global stocktake, including status to assess the early warning system and early action to prevent losses and damages. Moreover, for the 2020 report of the Executive Committee, we are expecting a balanced report that covers both activities that have been conducted, but also gap and challenges for the work of the Executive Committee. Standardized template for the Executive report could ensure such comprehensive reporting that allows for gaps being addressed in the next working period. The stocktake and monitoring mechanisms should include access to climate services, including early warning system and forecast-based early actions mechanism to save lives and properties at risk. Loss and damage actions must align with the Sendai framework and ensure no one is left behind. Finally, we recognized that a lot of effort went into convening the WIM review session prior to the COP25 in Madrid. Sadly, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we haven't had the opportunity to meet face to face since then, but the findings of that review remain relevant and must shape and inform the future actions of the Executive Committee. The review clearly identified action, support, and financing for loss and damage as the priorities. It is the responsibility of the Executive Committee to see that progress is made on this issue, and this week is a great opportunity to do just that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So from all of that, what I can summarize from that, from the Red Cross, it says that, again, we need to bring together knowledge, and maybe these technical guides need to be sort of almost a meta guide and not reinvent the wheel. The points on connectivity are well taken from the colleague from Kuwait, and also that we need to make sure that we get the right voices in the room to make sure that these guides and the activities of the Excom are appropriate and useful and guided by the mandate that was provided to us from Madrid. So I don't see any other hands. I would just like to, so Adal, sorry. Adal, I'll take your intervention, then I'd like to speak to the slide on the screen to see, just to check with members that we're clear about what the next steps are going to be.
Thank you very much, Malcolm. Thanks for the opportunity. In terms of these technical guides, I think we need to nominate or indicate at least some expert groups from the expert groups that we are going to establish under the 3 different expert groups. We may provide some sort of task for them to provide us the technical guide. It's almost not possible for us to develop technical guides without any expertise from outside. So as one of the Excom members, I think I could say that we could provide some sort of tours for experts that we are going to establish, and we need to provide timeline for them. And at that time, they can come up with different expertise, like colleagues have said, and it could be coming up with very comprehensive technical guides, like the LEC has done for, let's say, for the NAP. So I think this is critically important, but it's almost not possible for the Excom to develop this technical guide. So once again, we need to discuss about the process, who is going to develop this and how to get there. So we need to provide some sort of stewards for the expert that we are going to establish. And not all the experts, but very key experts. And it could be supported by the secretariat, because some of the secretariat staff, they've already gained expertise from NAP, let's say NAP expertise, even though the NAP itself doesn't include risk assessment. But I think for now and on, the NAP is also going to cover issue of risk assessment. So we can also ask some experience from the secretariat and also the LEG members to provide to support us. I think this is my point, but thank you very much once again.
Okay, thank you, Adal. I see one other hand. I'll take this because it was from Mauritius and two people. I'll take this one intervention, and then I'd like to move to talk to the slide that was on the screen earlier, if I may. So Mrs. Kanye and Mr. Oseng from Mauritius, please. If you're talking, you're on mute. I'm afraid we can't hear the people from Mauritius, so I'll move on. Could we have the slide on the screen, please, from the Secretariat? Just to remind observers that, of course, any interventions that you might have in writing are always welcome. So on the slide, I think that we have come broadly to a fairly good idea about what we need to do. And the first thing is to produce some sort of broad ideas and topics as to what these guides are going to be on. And my understanding from that is that it would be premature to think of that until we have convened the various expert groups and thought about with them about where some of those gaps might be, taking into account wide views from stakeholders, and indeed what the need for some of those guides might be. And those broad topics would then could be endorsed by the Excom. My suggestion would be that could largely be done virtually in terms of where those broad things will come through in terms of what the Excom can endorse. And then from there, I think that there would be a more detailed set of what might be in each each guide that would come through from those expert groups. I did not hear any objection to these guides coming out under the name of the Excom, but of course the importance would be that they follow the mandate in terms of the broad principles around them from 2CMA, but also that they make sure that they draw on existing knowledge and actually fill a gap. So it seems to me that the next thing is that the next job is to decide on some of the broad topics that we might want to do technical guides on. And my understanding from members is that process is probably best informed by the expert groups when they are constituted as led by the various champions from the Excom. And that once those broad topics are in place and have been endorsed, the next stage would be to produce some sort of more detailed guide on what those topic guides might be, bearing in mind that they will need to actually fulfill a real need, and therefore would not necessarily be a standardized product across all ideas in terms of the contents. But the those contents will come out later on when we get more details on the topics. Is that a fair summary of where we are and a fair approach to what we do next, where the expert groups will come together and propose topics for guides, which then can be worked up in more detail through expert groups? Are there any objections to that way forward? Farhan.
Thank you, Malcolm, for that summary and a way forward. I think absolutely we need to have consultations with the expert groups and make sure that there's an appropriate expertise on each of these groups to contribute to any technical guides that are being developed. There's a little bit of a chicken and egg problem here, I think, about how do we set up the expert groups and the technical guides. So I would see that the membership of the expert groups could in fact be driven by the topics of the expert the membership of the expert groups should be driven by the topics of the technical guides that we choose to pursue. So, for example, if we're choosing to pursue a technical guide on, impacts on, high alpine areas and glacier melt, that would drive potentially us to start looking for a particular expertise in that issue to join some of the expert groups. So I think there just needs to be a little bit of a dialogue between and discussion, and I welcome one over email, especially over the next few months ahead of our next meeting. But there needs to be some sort of dialogue and discussion about what sort of topics are ripe for both the generation of a technical guide, just based on the information that's out there, and the expertise that we have on these these bodies. But also we have to think through, how do we recruit both, permanent or not permanent members, but formal members of the expert group, as well as ad hoc members to fulfill some of the expertise needed to develop these guides. So there will need to be, I guess my point here is just that there will need to be discussions and an iterative process. We can't quite just say, expert groups, send us your topics, and we'll choose one or two out of the list of your topics that you can propose. But there really needs to be a discussion between the full Excom and, frankly, it just needs to be between the full Excom with the champion groups, knowing the relative expertise and opinion of the expert groups that they're a part of, to come together and to develop a coherent list of topics to pursue. Thank you.
Yes, Farhan, I get your point about the chicken and egg, but we do need to start somewhere, I think. And in terms of the expert groups, I think that getting an initial set of experts together might help. But then, as you say, we have the freedom to produce get some more ad hoc people involved. And so therefore, I think that getting the experts together and producing about getting the idea for some topics together, I think, is the next stop. And there's all sorts of ways that we can share information about what those topics might be, and indeed to get wide advice on what is got the best market for it. As Alpha said, it's important to make sure that we draw from outside stakeholders to see what is most useful. So I agree with you that this is an iterative process. It is not just simply the expert groups thinking the first thing that comes into their head, and therefore we'll need to sort of go through this several times. And when it comes to the topic deciding at the Excom, I think there should be some fairly rich background information as to the process as to how that topic was arrived at through that particular expert group. And then, of course, I agree that it may need to adjust or adopt some ad hoc experts to make sure that works. So my suggestion would be that the various champions convene their expert groups and start to look at what might be useful in terms of a technical guide, bearing in mind the guidance from the Excom that it needs to not reinvent the wheel and draw from existing information, respond to a need, and be practical in terms of helping build action on loss and damage. Is that an acceptable way forward for everybody? I don't see any hands, so that's useful. So thank you very much, everybody. The next session of the meeting is on the 14th of October at noon Central European Time and to 2 o'clock Central European Summertime, I should say. And the Secretariat will send out the web link to you all. If you don't get a web link and you want one, please do make sure that you contact the Secretariat to help make sure that they've got the right email addresses. And when you do sign into the meeting, if I could remind everybody to use the name that you used in your sign up, so that otherwise it's difficult for us as chairs to know who we're calling on to intervene. With that being said, I'll just hand over to my co-chair in case they have any final closing remarks. You don't have to say anything, Dawn, but I'm just giving you the chance.
Yes, not a problem. I think you've covered it all in terms of official meeting of the Excom being on Wednesday. And as you indicated, we will be sharing information based on the deliberations today, much of which is available online already, like the terms of reference, etc. So not much more to say on my end than to thank everyone for participating and for remaining with us. We apologize for the technical difficulties that you have been experiencing. I think it's something that we're experiencing the world over as we struggle with COVID-19 and try to use those virtual meetings as a means of continuing the work that needs to be done. So apologies, and we're hoping that as the week progresses, it will be better and that we will continue to be able to participate. We do encourage you to send in your feedback in writing for those of you who were not able to intervene. As you can appreciate, 2 hours goes by really, really quickly, and it's just not possible to have all the interventions that we would like to have. So there is nothing on as a full Excom meeting tomorrow. I see the question from Lindsay in the chat for the full Excom meeting. The next full Excom meeting day, day 2 of Excom, is on Wednesday, 14th October, as indicated by Malcolm. So do keep your eyes on our website as we put information there to help you to follow and to help craft your various interventions. So from my end, thank you very much. There's a request, Secretariat, for the input email to be posted again on the screen. So could you put that up for us, please? Noting your comment. Miwa just put it in the chat, so that's available, and it's also on the screen as well. I believe that is it for us. I don't know if I'm missing anything out, Miwa. Other than that, Malcolm, I will let you say your final piece.
That's it. Thanks very much, everybody. And my only major regret is I don't actually have a gavel.
Thank you very much from Bangladesh.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Query, by the way, on the recording that will be made available.
Thank you very much from Bangladesh for the best.
Okay.
The web page is up on the screen.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, and we'll see you all.
Thank you very much for the best.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank
you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.